Welcome to Spring LIB.
So the first reaction here is sodium acetate and HCl. So sodium acetate, and which is soluble in water, it will be in aqueous form. It will react with HCl, which will also be in aqueous form, and they will react to form sodium chloride, which is also very strongly soluble in water. That means it will be also in aqueous. And finally we will have CH3COOH or acetic acid, which is also soluble in water. So as we know that in a chemical reaction, a precipitate will be formed only if there is any solid compound in the product side. So since there is no solid in the product side, that means no precipitate will form from this reaction. Now for the balancing, we have to check out if we have all the atoms or radicals in both sides are of equal number. First we check the metal. So metal is sodium, we have one sodium on each side. Then we have acetate, one acetate on each side. We have chloride, one chloride on each side. And finally we have hydrogen, one hydrogen on each side. So that means this is already a balanced equation and no precipitate will form from this reaction. Now in the second one, we have KOH and CuNO3 too. So KOH, it is soluble in water, and then we will have copper nitrate, which is also soluble in water, as all nitrates are soluble in water. And in the product we will have KNO3 in aqueous, and we will have CuOH2. So if we look at the solubility chart, we will see that without certain exceptions, all the hydroxides are usually insoluble in water, and copper is no exception. That means copper hydroxide is insoluble in water, and that means it will be a solid, and be uh, it will be precipitated out from the solution mixture. And that's why we have a solid precipitate here. And now for balancing the equation, let's start with our metals here. So we have two metal. We have one one K or one potassium on each side, and then we look for the copper. We have one copper on each side. Then we have two nitrates here, and we have one nitrate here. That means we have to add it two here. Now we have two nitrate, but now we have two K also, two potassium. That means we need two potassium in this side also. And again we have added two potassium. That means we have two hydroxide now. And in this side we have also two hydroxide. Now if we just look for all of them on for one more time, we have two potassium here and two potassium here. We have two hydroxide here, one copper, and then two nitrate, two nitrate. So this is our balanced equation for this reaction, and we have one solid precipitate formed. Now in the third one, We have sodium sulfide and cadmium sulfate. So cadmium sulfide, oh no, sodium sulfide and cadmium sulfate. And in this reaction, we will have sodium sulfate, which is soluble in water, as we know that all alkali metal compounds are soluble, and we will have cadmium sulfide. Now, so now again, if we look at the solubility chart, we will see that normally all sulfides are insoluble except some exceptions, and cadmium is no exception there, and that means cadmium sulfide is not soluble or insoluble in water, and that's why it will be solid form and it will be precipitated out from the solution. That means we have one precipitate here, cadmium sulfide. And now if we go for the reaction balancing, we have two sodium here and we have two sodium here, then we have one cadmium, we have one sulfate, and finally one sulfide. That means this reaction is also already balanced. So this is the balanced equation for this reaction, and cadmium sulfide is our solid precipitate here.